Packin, podcast back in action with a brand new show for the whole damn Green Bay faction. I don't know, that was a quick little freestyle. Green Bay versus San Francisco. Now let's just jump right into it, man. Let's jump right into it. The Packers win 34-17. A lot of fans on Twitter were saying, okay, yeah, like we got a little revenge. You know, you can only play who's on your schedule. You know, San Francisco was banged up. We're banged up too. Like, there's a lot of different views, a lot of different takes on the subject. But for me personally, I don't think it was any revenge, and I don't think this is shit to be patting yourself on the back for. San Francisco basically trots out the JV replacement team, with Nick Mullins as Shane Falco. Okay, anybody who remembers the replacements? 2000, I want to say 2001. It's actually a great underrated football movie about a town about a league that's on strike, and basically they have to field a football team with a bunch of replacement guys. Dope film, but not so dope when you're actually facing a replacement team in real life in the National Football League, and you win 34-17, which is a very respectable victory, a very respectable score. But they were up 31-3, and that's where I'm going to start. I'm disappointed again in this Mike Pettin defense. They were up 31-3 in the fourth quarter, and then they let Nick Mullins and some guy named Richie James. Some guy named Richie James catches 9 passes for 184 yards and a touchdown. No Kittle, no Ayuk, no anybody else. They didn't have like any of the three-headed monsters at running back. They didn't have Garoppolo. They're missing, guys on defense, starters on defense. So, this team was really undermanned and very depleted. And the fact that they even let them score at all, you could say is nitpicking on my part, but I'm disappointed. You get 3 scoreless, you give them 3 points in 3 quarters, and then at the end of the game, you all of a sudden you just let up 2 touchdowns, and you could say the game was out of reach, and that's very true. But it's a reoccurring theme with Mike Pettin and these defenses, how they just let guys just get yards and scores late in the game. And one of these days, Pettin is going to come back to bite you in the ass, and you're going to let a good team that you're probably up by 14 or 13 or 17, they're going to let a good team score 2 touchdowns late, like you did in Dallas last year. I was there at that game. I was like shitting my pants. I was like fucking sweating bullets, and I was worried and scared because I'm very superstitious. And I got up, went to the bathroom, and when I came back, all of the Dallas fans were gone. So I kind of like sat in a different seat. And then as soon as I sat in that seat, Dallas started coming back. But it wasn't really my fault. It was Pettin's fault. And once again, Pettin let another team back into the game late. Now, granted, like I said, they still won by almost double the score, and they really had no chance of coming back into this game. But if this team wasn't missing Kittle and a lot of the other playmakers, I don't even know if it would have been that close. I don't think it would have been that big, I should say, rather. It would have been much closer, and dare I say, the Packers probably would have lost that game. If you ask me, the way they have been defending the run and shit, the pass and everything else, basically, for the past 7 weeks, 8 weeks. It was week 9, 8 games, eight. They had a bye. So, Jair Alexander goes down, which sucks. We had more injuries in this game. You're swapping a lot of pieces down. I don't have my notes. I didn't really do a lot of preparation. I just kind of going off my emotions and the eye test what I saw. And what I saw still wasn't good, honestly. Aside from Jair Alexander, I guess you could say, I think Chandon Sullivan, they did get an interception in the game. But in the offense looked good. And everybody's been, patting Davante Adams on the back today. And he should, I definitely give him a round of applause. And to say I think Davante Adams is definitely a top 1 or 2 guys in the league. But Adams has to be more consistent. And I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Tough tit. Like, he's really only done this against bad teams. He did it against week one, Minnesota week one. And as you know, they had a bunch of like second and third string guys and rookies in their secondary. He cuts them up for 150 plus, 12 catches, couple touchdowns. Then he gets hurt. He misses the next game against the Lions. Um, and he missed the game against Atlanta, and he missed the game against New Orleans. So that's 3 games he missed. Then he plays against Tampa. They get fucking drubbed. They get drugged through the dirt, and they got embarrassed, and he didn't do nothing. In fact, both interceptions were going towards Adams. On the one play, I blame Rodgers because he was staring him down the whole damn time, and it was windy, and he was late, and he threw it inside, and he got pick six. The second interception, I blame on Adams because the ball hit him right in the hands, and he dropped it, fumbled it in the air to get another interception. So, look, I understand everybody loves Adams. I like Adams too. He's an 8-year vet. The freaking 49ers are literally like on their fourth and fifth stringers in the secondary. They've got no real pass rush up front, and the linebackers outside of that one kid they've been talking about. I even kind of forget his name. I think it's 54 or whatever. Like, they don't have much on defense. So Adams was open as he should have been, and he caught a lot of passes as he should have had. He had 13 targets, so he dropped 3, or a couple of them were overthrown or something, got defended or something like that. So, but it's like, I need you to do that against Tampa Bay, bro. Where were you at against Tampa Bay? Because beating up on Minnesota, even though they lost that game, they lost. He had a great game, 3 touchdowns, but they lost to Minnesota at home. Like I said, shitty secondary. Last night, San Francisco, shitty secondary. And then week before that, I'm trying to see, like, who did they play before? They played some other team that I wasn't. They're talking about some. It was bounce back win. I'm like, bro, you can't have a bounce. Oh, the Texans, where fucking, they had left him in man coverage all day long. The Texans, another shitty 1-5 team at the time, fired their head coach. Like, got rid of their best player on offense. It's like, come on, man. Like, what are we really celebrating here? Yes, I'm glad you had a good game, but you got to do it against tough competition. So let's see. You got Chicago twice. You have Tennessee, who has a really good secondary, and you guys have Indianapolis, who I'm not really sure what their secondary looks like, but I just know overall it's a really good defense. So you got 4 contender level teams coming up. 2 teams that have really, really good defense in Chicago and Tennessee, and really Indianapolis. But I was going to say 1 team in Tennessee that is a true Super Bowl contender. Because they have Derrick Henry, who at this point, I'm like, shit, this nigga might break the single rushing game record, which Adrian Peterson holds. And to be quite honest with you, like, I'm not gonna wish it to happen, but if it happened, A, I won't be surprised, and B, is like, at least I got to see history. At least I got to see a little bit of history. I saw the 2 highest, single season rushing performances in NFL history, and I'm not really sold on this team. They have deficiencies on defense, like I said. Jair went out. We don't know how long he's going to be hurt. Preston kind of had some flashes last night. Z's been consistent. And, Kenny is Kenny, but, he was missing some games, so I feel like he's still kind of getting his groove on. But other than that, bro, like, people are getting hurt, and there's a lot of question marks. I like Kamal Martin. They really liked him too. He was on the fucking COVID list, so we didn't get to see him play last night. They're really high on this Chandon Sullivan and Raven Green and shit. And one of those guys had an interception last night. But other than that, I feel like it's feast or famine. And the guys we need to make big plays, like Darnell Savage, who is anything but a savage, more like Darnell Ravage, because he's fucking, I don't know, leaving nothing to, I don't know. I'm not sure where I was going with that, but yeah. He's supposed to be like a 4-4-3 dude. He seems to like be constantly getting burnt or, like I said, make out of position, not where he needs to be, just a second late. He's not physical. I mean, he comes up sometimes and he'll make a couple of little plays, but in open field, he doesn't tackle well. He doesn't tackle like running backs well, in my opinion. You know, once they kind of get a steam, full steam going, because he's a shoulder guy. He always throwing his shoulder. He doesn't really wrap up, and it's like, dude, like you're the safety. We need you to be able to hit and cover and make plays. And then the top of all of the cherry on top is that this motherfucker can't catch for shit. It's like he dropped another interception yesterday. He's dropped a lot of interceptions. He's been like right there for plays, but he doesn't make it. So I'm not really sure what's going on with Darnell Savage, but definitely not sold on the offense, because when you played a legitimate Super Bowl contender like the Tampa Bay, you got embarrassed. You couldn't move the ball for nothing. All of your little tricks were, exposed, and you could say they didn't have Lazard, and but I think Jones was still playing at the time, so it's like you had Lazard, you had Jones, you had Williams. Like, what the fuck else do you need, man? Like, that's more than a lot of teams can say. So, you have your Hall of Fame quarterback, and I use this because, like, yes, Rodgers is a Hall of Famer, but he hasn't been playing like it, and I don't give a fuck. And that's another thing. Like, I've been seeing this graphic saying like he's on the same pace that he was in 2011 when he threw for 45 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 4,000 plus yards, and he won MVP. And I'm just like, numbers do lie. People say numbers don't lie. Numbers do lie, bro, because I don't care how those numbers, like, on paper, they're the same and he's on pace, but first of all, he's not winning MVP. That honor goes to Russell Wilson. And anybody who thinks Russell isn't the MVP is drinking the Kool-Aid down at 1265 Lombardi Avenue, because there's no fucking way you can sit here and tell me just by looking at it. The Seahawks have been in every single game they played. The one game they lost, it was tight and it went to overtime. And yeah, Russell threw 3 picks, but it's like, even in throwing 3 picks, he still had a better game to me than Rodgers when he threw 2 picks. Or like, that game was still better than most of Rodgers' games. Like, if you just ask me, as far as like Russell Wilson, you never really feel out of it to me. Like, and I'm not gonna get on this. I don't want to get on off topic, but the point that I'm trying to make is, I'm looking at it. I remember 2011 vividly. They seemed unstoppable. I was never, ever worried about that team. This team does not feel like 2011. Even though 2011 they end up losing the game and they end up they lose in the wild card round to the Giants, but it's like that team just felt like a juggernaut. This team feels like a pretender to me, because like, Rodgers got pissed off when they asked if they had been figured out, and it's like, I don't know if they necessarily got figured out, but I feel like the Tampa Bay proved that you guys aren't really as special as you think you are. You played a lot of bad teams with a lot of bad defenses, missing a lot of weapons on offense, and you blew them out like you should have. But when it's time to put your big boy pants on and strap up, like, you guys got embarrassed. So, because, and I don't care what anybody says, yeah, you got to play who's on your schedule, and yes, they're still getting paid over there too, and yeah, the Green Bay Packers are also injured, but they're, to me, like in the post game locker room when they're breaking it down, like, there's no congratulations for this shit. There's no fucking like like, good job. It's like, this is like, to me, like, this is what you were expected to do. This team was absolutely depleted. You have more pieces than they had. You're supposed to go out there and you're supposed to kick their ass, and they did. So, but they get no pats on the back from me, and this is no revenge. This was not revenge. Okay, you got embarrassed in the NFC Championship game, and you got embarrassed in the regular season game. So you got embarrassed twice by this team, in beating them when they're like missing like 8 starters on both, like, between both sides of the ball. It's not even worth congratulating, honestly, for real. So they got Jacksonville, Indianapolis, Chicago, Philly. Jacksonville should be a dub. Philly should also be a dub, but for some reason they seem to have like our number. Well, not really our number. Adams got hurt in that game, but Carson Wentz fucking carved their ass up. Which, yeah, I mean, when you have good quarterbacks, like, good quarterbacks can carve this team up. Like, I feel like Carson Wentz, who's been struggling all year, is going to have a good game against the Packers because he's a good quarterback, and our scheme sucks. And Pettin can't call a game to save his life. But they got Indianapolis, Tennessee, Chicago twice, and even Carolina. They'll have McCaffrey. They got some weapons on the outside. They got that, the Teddy Two Gloves, Teddy H2O, as some people like to call him. And they got like a decent defense. Like, that's going to be a game. I don't think they're just 2011. No way. I'm not worried whatsoever. 2020. Yeah, I'm worried. I don't care what the stats say. This team isn't 2011, and they're not a serious contender. And I don't care what anybody on Twitter says. They just been drinking the Kool-Aid. Man, all these fucking Packers fans on Twitter, they're like, I've been getting a lot of heat by Packers fans saying I'm too negative because, like, I'm never happy, I'm never satisfied. And you know what? I'm not so far. 6-2, yeah, they're on top of the division, but they still haven't played the Bears. And I think the Bears have a legitimate Super Bowl level defense. And Nick Foles plays up to his competition, and they've got some weapons. Jimmy Graham's kind of redeemed himself. Allen Robinson is a stud. You know what I'm saying? A little stud in the making. And they're going to get after them, and they're going to be motivated because this is the first time in a long time that they feel like they played the Packers and have a chance to win because they know Trubisky isn't out there fucking throwing the game away over, like, throwing pick interceptions and missing guys by 10 yards. And, it's going to come down to Chicago and Green Bay. It's going to come down to Chicago and Green Bay. And, they've already got some tiebreakers over us as well. So it's like they got to split or they got to win both those games. And right now, I'm not confident they're going to win those games, man. And if it were me, if I was the GM, I'd get Pettin out of there. He's bad. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with the head coach, and the head coach is ultimately responsible for all of the game day operations, special teams, defense, and offense. Even if you just have an offensive head coach like the Green Bay Packers do with Matt LaFleur, I thought that it was like LaFleur runs the offense, and the D coordinator, like Pettin, runs the defense, and he's sort of like the head coach on defense. And I didn't think they really overlapped each other, or I didn't think LaFleur was going to overstep him. But according to my friend, he told me no, that happens all the time, or that's an acceptable practice in the coaching realm for the head coach to be listening on the headsets. And if he hears something he doesn't like, or he sees something he doesn't like, he can overrule the DC and tell him to run something else. And I'm like, what the fuck, LaFleur? Are you telling me you are okay with what Pettin has been doing? If that's the case, fire Pettin is like a foregone conclusion. Now I'm looking at, I have to evaluate LaFleur. And I'm not saying he needs to be fired, but what I'm saying is if LaFleur is allowing Pettin to run these schemes and to put these players in these positions and to just have Preston Smith out on the fucking island covering a receiver or a running back or a tight end, like a cornerback, that's a fireable. That in itself is a fireable offense, if you ask me. I don't want Preston Smith covering jack shit on an island by himself. I don't care if it was a tackle eligible, okay, or the quarterback. I don't want Preston covering no one. He needs to be in front of a tight end or a tackle, rushing the passer. That's all. That's it. Because he can barely keep outside contained. Honestly, Zadarius Smith has been worth every penny. But Preston Smith at this point was a wasted free agency acquisition. I feel like they can be getting everything they're getting out of Preston from Zadarius. I mean, from Gary. At this point, and yeah, Gary had to learn, but I think he's more athletic. He's faster. He's bigger. He's got a better body type. He's better against the run. He has a better motor. He's more mobile. So I wish they would have put that money that they gave to Preston into either another D lineman or a safety, Jamal Adams, because Amos and Savage, they're not cutting it, bro. Amos had a everybody like a lot like lauded him as like, oh, he was such a he was a big upgrade over haha. Don't get me wrong, but you know, Amos is like a C- guy, bruh. Like he doesn't really make any plays. He's like kind of just like he's there. You know, he'll make a play every now and then, but like he's a good guy to have next to a dude like Eddie Jackson, who is an All-Pro playmaker all over the field. And like Amos is supposed to be like the sidekick to the younger, you know, more physically gifted Savage, but Savage is just like not developing, bro. Like Eddie Jackson was a star from day one. What's my man in the Chargers? He was a star from day one. Like if a guy's gonna be good, you pretty much know he's gonna be good. Now there are some exceptions to the rule. I think Nick Collins kind of took a year or two to come around, but he flashed, bro. Like Savage, he's not flashing for me. So you know, I think I'm kind of repeating myself. I'm going back. I just want to kind of keep moving forward. You know, those are the things that I'm really concerned about this team, and they have to prove to me that that the defense can actually stop a good offense, and they can make adjustments, and they could defend a team that can run the ball. Because as much as everybody was talking about Devontae Adams last night, he still got outplayed by some dude I never heard of, for who caught nine balls for 184 yards and a touchdown. Like that's major, bro. That is major. Everyone's like sucking Devontae Adams off for 10 catches, 170 yards, or 60 yards. This dude had 184 on 9 catches. He was killing them. He was killing them. And if the game was closer, he'd be the freaking story. They'd be talking about him today. Or if they won. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, then on offense, yeah, can you guys be aggressive? Can you find, like, hopefully when Lazard comes back, I think Lazard is good. I still think he has to prove if he can be a legitimate number 2, but Lazard belongs in the NFL. He belongs in the league. He belongs on a team. He's a starter, I think, on 32 teams in the NFL. Maybe where 1, 2, 3, who knows? But he's a legitimate bona fide starter, and he's got the body type, and he's got like the everything you want. But MVS, bruh, he gloating talking about some keep that same energy because he caught 2 passes for touchdowns and he had like 100 yards. It's like, but dog, you also dropped a surefire first down on third down to hit you right in the hands, and you almost dropped a long ball for the first touchdown. So it's like, you need to keep that same energy, dog, and like play like this for the rest of the year, because so far on my end, the energy that I've been having for your ass, that you're a bum, that you drop too many passes and you're inconsistent, has been pretty accurate, bro. Because now you're at this point, week 8 or week 9, 8th game of the season, you're pretty much averaging 1 good game every 8 weeks. Like when you're showing us all these videos of you and Randy Moss in the off season, like, bro, like, pump your brakes, dog. Pump your brakes. Marquez, I'm happy for you, and I'm glad that you have confidence in yourself. But like, just I know Nipsey said never let a hard time humble us, but take a cue from Kendrick and sit down and be humble. Cause you talking all this shit right now, but next week against Jacksonville, when you drop a wide open touchdown and you drop a couple of first downs, then what you gonna be saying? You gonna want us to keep that same energy? Nah, nigga, we gonna have the energy we've been having for the last 7 weeks, 8 weeks, when you ain't done nothing and you've been dropping passes consistently your whole career. You're in year 3 now, bruh. Like these are the kind of games that you're supposed to be having. Like you didn't really have a good game. You just caught 2 passes that both went for touchdowns, but you weren't like moving the chains. You weren't like breaking niggas down. You weren't like running, crisp routes. Like you just fucking ran down the middle of the field one time, another time, it was end zone. Like maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but at the same time, it's like it's kind of a turnoff for me when a guy who hasn't been playing well his whole career has 1 game against, like I said, a banged up, depleted secondary. Like, okay, if you would have did this in Tampa, okay, it's like, all right, you know what I'm saying, stick your chest out, bro, all that shit. But did you show up on a stat sheet in Tampa? No, I don't think you did. What about when Lazard was catching all those passes in New Orleans? Or when Tanyan was the man in Atlanta? Where were you at, bruh? Dropping passes. So once you drop your ass in the seat and do it for a few more games before you start thumping your chest, bruh. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even know if they're good. Like, they're good on paper, but I'm not really sure how good this team is. Like, I feel like on a scale of 1 to 10, I feel like they're like a 5 or a 6 on the good scale. Like, they're not a confident, super confident 9 or 10 or 8.5. I give them like a 6.7. They beat up on a bunch of 1 and 5 and 2 and some teams like that are depleted and have like no secondary and are missing key players on offense. Like, that's what they do. But until they can show me that they can be a legitimate team, and I think I'm just rambling right now, so I'm gonna wrap it up. I feel like you get the gist. You get the gist of what I'm saying. The Packers, in my book, are still pretenders. They're not contenders, and they have to prove to me. They got 4 games coming up, and I'm just assuming that they can beat Philly, Jacksonville, and the Panthers. And the Lions again. Those are 4 games I feel like y'all should be able to win. But low key, the Lions might bust their ass too. To keep it a buck. The Lions they're gonna be in Detroit. I think Detroit might have fans, even if they don't have fans. That offense is legit. Like, and if they just run the ball more, they'll be able to honestly, like, that's the Packers we even Packin even said it. Packin is on record many times saying that he'd rather defend the pass than the run, which basically says, yes, teams, please run all over my defense. I'm allowing you to run all over. I want you to run all over my defense. So it's like, I wouldn't even pass unless it was like off play action or, 3rd and 7 or some shit, like some down where I feel like I can't get it because they're giving up like 4 or 5 yards of carry. Like, just run the ball, like, and you can beat the Packers. And you keep the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hand. To me, like, that's what I would do. Treat this shit like Madden. Force somebody to stop it, and until they do, don't. Keep doing it. So, like, to me, it's not that difficult. Like, and there are gonna be some teams that are gonna do that. They're gonna really challenge them on that front again, and I'm gonna see if they can do it. And if they can, I want them to. I want them to succeed. I'm just saying I don't see it, and I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like everything's rosy and fucking gold and green and like just like this team is so amazing when they're not, bro. They're not. I don't even know if they're the best team in the conference. Like I said, we still have to see them play Chicago twice, and I think fans are gonna be in for a rude awakening one of those games, especially in Chicago. So, but if they can beat those 4 easy teams, those teams that I feel like they should be able to beat if they were a good team, the 4 ones that are tough, like I said, Chicago, Indianapolis, and Tennessee. And I'm telling you, Derrick Henry against this run defense, it doesn't leave me a lot to feel good about. So I want to hear what you guys think. Are the Packers contenders? Are they pretenders? Am I just a negative fan who needs to shut the fuck up and delete my Twitter and go, take a toaster shower? Or do you feel like I make good points and that this team has a lot to prove and that this team is good at beating bad teams but struggles against good teams and doesn't play well from behind? And there's a lot of questions surrounding this team. Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, comment, share, do everything, do all that shit, man. It's your boy Guy Chow, first of his name, and this has been What's Packin'. Peace.